Please welcome Angela Daniels from Garland ISD.
Guys, no, I do not need no more than 30 minutes. So I just want to come to you and say, first, I am not an expert. I am a person who loves education, just trying to find a way to make a difference. I do a lot of things and most of them work. And if they don't, I refine them. So I'm here to share with you what it is that I do and hope that it can kind of help for you guys as well. So we're going to talk about dropout recovery, and you can go to the next slide. And using district-wide processes, because again, what I have found, and let me explain, I'm the at-risk coordinator here at Student Services and Garland ISD, and that comprises both behavior and attendance. We work with truancy, attendance processes and procedures, but my number one focus, especially at the beginning of the year, is recovering students who did not return and who left us in the previous school year and didn't start with us at the beginning of the school year, or were supposed to start with us on the first day of school and did not start. So that's what we kind of consider our dropouts. And so I'm going to give you a little bit about our numbers here in Garland ISD. We average between 51 and 54,000 students. We have 13 middle schools, 7 high schools, and about 40 elementary, so 72 campuses in total. When I started this process, it was in 2017, 2018, because we were reporting a lot of students who did not graduate. And so when you think about the number 340 compared to 54,000, it's like, well, that's not that many, but every one of those students is somebody's child. So that was a lot when you looked at it percentage-wise. Some districts report less than 1%, and we were reporting 2 and 3%. So that was a lot. We also had new leadership come in, and when that leadership came in, she said, hey, we need to make sure that we're looking for our students. If they're not with us, where are they? So we started a process to make sure that we knew where all of our students were. So on the secondary level, they count towards our dropout numbers, but on the elementary level, they do not. But we started a plan district-wide where we looked for all of our students, whether they were elementary, middle school, or high school. So our numbers did go down. So first we were reporting 340, which sounds really bad when I heard Katie talk about theirs, 220, and then we got down to 144 last year, which was, nearly 200 students less. So it took a lot of work, some long nights, and a lot of typing. So I'm going to talk to you about my process, and hopefully it can help you a little bit. Next slide. So the first thing that we did, what I found out is that everybody didn't know what I was talking about. Even on the high school level, like you would think that, hey, when I say dropout recovery, they should know. They should know exactly what that is, but not everybody knew. I'm like, where are your dropouts? They're like, what? What are we supposed to do with that? So I gave it a name, Operation Opportunity. And we've given, once you name it and you have that collective language, there's something about being able to say, this is what we're doing, and everybody knowing what that is, and it's sounding fun. Because when you say we're looking for dropouts, it does not sound fun. It does not sound like something that I want to participate in. So as simple as a name is, it gives us a connection. It gives us something that says it's important, because we can call it by name and we know what it is, and we're going to work on this together. It gives us a sense of togetherness. So just giving it a name, first of all, was just the first thing. Also, we want to inspire hope. That's the whole point of this thing, is like coming to school, getting an education. We want to inspire hope so you can have a better life. So we gave it a hopeful name, Operation Opportunity, because we wanted these kids to come back, okay? And so also as a person, if you're calling me a dropout, that's going to be a problem. I don't want you to call me that. So we had to think of some ways that were creative to make this seem like, I guess less depressing, but to make it seem, and really the truth is that this was a good thing. This is a way for us to bring our students back to us where they were supposed to be. So I also created a manual, because we know we're visual people. We have to see things. We like things that look good, right? So I created a visual and put together processes that were easy to follow, easy to see, easy to look at. So I'm going to call it a manual, but I hate the word manual. I still have not found a new word for manual, but it's basically just a book of words about what we're supposed to do in the operation opportunity process. So you can go ahead and click on it. If you want to click on the guidance, yes, there you go. So with the share drive, we were able to share it, of course, through Google. We're also able to share it through like a PDF thing. So, oh, it flips, it moves. Just the fact that it was able to flip and move just amazed some people. And I was like, oh, yay. Anyway, so every year I do a different color. This year was actually purple. But one of the things that I wanted to do, and you can go back to the first page of that, was make sure that we also had a timeline. So in Texas, we have to report our students by snapshot date, also by the end of the school start window. So we have certain dates that we have to report our students, the number of students who are enrolled and the number of students who have returned or not returned. So if I had a deadline, everybody else was about to have a deadline too. So I made sure that we had some type of timeline that said, hey, this is the last moment that you can say, these are the kids that I have on my campus, and then work back from that. So of course, every week, every day, you should be looking for your students. Day one, we figure out who showed up. Day two, who's not here and how do we find them? So of course, we wrote that down because again, there's so many processes and so many things that are happening on campuses that it can be forgetful or it can be overwhelming. But having just that simple timeline that's easy to see, easy to follow, and we're looking at it by week. So this week I should be doing this. And then we have the check boxes next to it just so we can, I checked that off. I did that. And there's research about checking things off that make you feel like, oh my God, I'm accomplishing things. And it makes you feel good. So again, at the end of the day, all of this was all about hope, inspiring people to actually go through the process and complete the process, whether it be education or our administrators who were actually doing the process. So a timeline is something we created for the district. And then next, an overview was the next page is the overview of the process. So the overall enrollment recovery process, I broke it down into sections. And so I'm a teacher, I come from the classroom. So again, I always love to chunk information for people. I'm gonna have a big word, just this is the overview, and then a couple of little sentences afterward, because I want you to get that information. I want you to be able to retain it. I don't want it to be too much. And sometimes when it's a lot of words, it's going to turn people off. And so just looking at this right now, if I was on your side and I see how small this is, this would drive me crazy. I would need it bigger. But again, it's going to be linked in the presentation, so you're able to look at it later. One of the things that I also did was make sure that we all had the same definition of what a leaver was, a student who left us, and what a dropout was. So just putting that in the side section to say, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is why we're looking for this student, and making sure everybody even understood who we were looking for. Also giving everybody just kind of a mission was at the top. And then in the bold letters, walked through these are the steps. We're going to identify the students. We're going to research where they are. We're going to communicate with families. This is how you do that. We're going to document that communication. Then we're going to evaluate our processes, how many kids we've gotten back, and then we're going to collaborate to find some more. So that is really the gist of the plan. Because sometimes we'll roll out something and it just seems so complicated. But if you tell people, hey, it's like 5 things you have to do, it makes a difference, right? It's really simple. Just say this is really simple. At the bottom of every sheet, I always put contact information. One of the things that I also found was that people did not always know where to go for information. So if they couldn't, or for some reason they looked at this sheet and it's like, I still have like 5 questions I need to ask her. Or my campus is a little bit different. How does that work for me? They have a website they can go to. Usually they'll have like my extension, they'll have our office number, they'll have something, but we always want to make sure that there's a way for people to get further information. And so we always had it linked at the bottom as well. You can go to the next one. And then also guidance about what do you do? So we're identifying who the students are, and we do provide those lists for those students. But then once you know who those students are, you have common language about what we're doing. It's like, how do we even do this? So we talked about, I gave them some information about no-show students. And then also information about the enrollment recovery team. So one thing that I learned through process and error, just working through some processes, is that we needed people on the team, on the campus, who were actually there to receive these students. So one of the things that was happening in our office, we were going out on these home visits, we were going to find students, we were pushing them off to the campus like, hey, we got you here, go to campus tomorrow and get started. But the campus was like, what do we do? What do we do with these kids? Like, they've already missed this and this. They don't have this, they don't have that. And there were just like so many obstacles that were ahead of them that kind of pushed the kids back from even returning after we had contacted them and kind of talked to them about going back to school. So one of the things that we talked about was having an enrollment recovery team, people who you have designated on your team to work with some of these students that we're sending back, because yes, they're going to have some issues. They may not live at home anymore. They may not have the proper documentation for where they live. They may have a child now. We had a surge in COVID children, children having children. So they may have some situations where they need to speak with the counselor. And so in this guidance, of course, we give you suggestions, but I also added at the bottom questions. So consider who on your team, because if I tell a campus leader, hey, it has to be your counselor who sits with them, but that campus may have an at-risk coordinator, or that campus may have an interventionist who may be better suited for that. So again, I asked them guided questions. Who's able to meet with students? Who's able to re-enroll them? Who's able to work out schedules for these students? Who on your team is going to be able to do that? Who are the best people for that? Because sometimes the title does not match that person's ability, and they may not be the best person for that job description. So either way, we gave them guidance, but also asked them questions. Along with giving notes about speaking with parents, because that was very, very important. So again, we want to know how to speak with parents when we're asking sensitive information. They may have some situation that they may not want to discuss. So how do you talk to a parent? How do you make them feel welcome? How do you inspire them or make them feel comfortable with talking to you, and then even inspire them to talk to their child about coming back to school? So that was really important, just giving them some guidance and some things to think about when you're talking to the family. And then along with a script. So you can go to the next page. So we also provided a script in English and in Spanish for that. And then the next page. We talked about how to visit families. And so when you're visiting families and making home visits, which is very, very important, talked about what do you do? When is the best time to go? Who should be on your team when you're going? How should you speak? Of course, we added in English and in Spanish a script again, just because it doesn't mean that you have to say every single word that's on the script. No, it just means that this is a basis. This is where you can start. These are some words to get your mind turning, because this is what I thought of. This is what I would like to hear, but maybe you can add something to it. So we started with this basis for people just to say, hey, this is what you can start with. This is what will help you when you're going out to families and talking to families, because some people were a little, scared at first. It's like, well, what do I say? How do I say it? And it's like, it's okay. You can do it. It's really, really simple. So once we started inspiring our staff, because of course our campuses would know who those students are to go out, it helped a little more as well. And you can go back to the slide. Okay, so naming it, we have a manual for it, and you can go to the next slide. And so again, this was a simple plan. We wanted to make sure that it was simple. If nothing else, they kind of understood what the process was. So in my guide, it was, okay, I had everything bolded for what the process was, and it had some more information about it. But if nothing else, everybody did need to understand 4 key elements. They needed to understand that we're going to identify students, and I don't have to identify those students. Student Services is going to send that information to me. So we had a shared drive for that. We're going to collaborate with not only Student Services, but people on my campus. I have to identify some people. We're going to recover students. We're going to bring them back, and we have to have a plan for bringing them back. And then we're going to update our documentation to show that they are not a dropout and they are now with us and enrolled in our district. So that is it. Like, once it was kind of simplified, it helped so much for them to understand that this is not a hard process and we're here to help. The biggest part of that, though, was making sure that everybody in our district was on board, and it did take some new leadership for that to happen. So we had a district collaboration plan where we talked to each one of our leaders. So we talked to our superintendent and assistant superintendent, who were like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the charge. And they talked to our different department leaders. They talked to our different educational leads that worked with the principals. And so once we got our educational leads on, and they were having to have these conversations with principals about how many students are you bringing back, how many dropouts, how many students are you missing this year, then that helped as well. Because me from student services, just little old me, it didn't have the same effect as their supervisor asking them how engaged in this process are you. So also we collaborated with our special ed department because some of our students may have a learning disability, the McKinney-Vento liaison as well. So making sure that every department is ready to step in, they know this process, they know what's happening, having those meetings in advance helps. And then we collaborated heavily with the counseling department because we wanted to make sure that when those students walked to the door, especially on our secondary level, that they were ready with some type of plan for them. So what we've seen so far this year, one of the biggest things is with COVID, is that kids were missing chunks of education. So they were supposed to be in the 9th grade, age appropriate for 9th grade, but the last time that they were in school were 7th grade, or they were age appropriate for 10th grade, but last time they were in school was in junior high. What do we do with those kids? What plan do we have? Who do we talk to about that? So making sure that all that information and those plans are together helps so much. And at least the campuses know that, okay, I don't necessarily have a plan for you, but we're going to call student services. One-stop shop, student services is going to connect us to the right person in the department, because sometimes getting in touch with departments can be difficult. So at least everybody knew, and everybody on in the district level in leadership was aware of what was happening. So campus plans was also important. So not only having a plan on the district level, but making sure that the campus has a plan so they know, and everybody, all their staff, their front office people know when a person calls and say, oh, somebody left a card on my door, I need my child to go back to school. Your front office people know, oh, okay, I need to send you to this person. So everybody on the campus needs to know as well, even teachers, because teachers have these kids. So if the teachers know who these kids are, they can give you information, or they may know there's a sibling of that kid. So everybody on the campus, how are we talking to our staff about finding students and recovering them and making sure that they're in school? And you can go ahead to the next slide. Okay, and so not only do we have the little manual that I don't call a manual, my guide, we have our district plan, but then, of course, so everybody can know, there was just a small little flyer that I did. It was a little card, a little infographic, because we want everybody to know. We want everybody to have the resources, know a little bit about it, just enough to get to the right person so they can know more about it, or get to the right place so they can get more information about it. So this is the quick glance overview. I always wanted to make sure that everybody understood that it was simple. There are a few steps, and we're here to help. And then making sure that they understood how it affects their campus grading. In Texas, of course, it affects their letter grade. It affects so many different subpopulations and areas that these students that are not in school will affect their campus. So again, I wanted to make sure that they had all that information for them. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, and so this is one of the slides that we had as well, so we can understand that there's one team and we're all looking for every student. And so what do administrators do? They're going to monitor the progress. They're going to organize activities for recovery. So they're going to organize all of our door knocking. They're going to organize our phone banks. They're going to organize who's going to do that. One of the things that the district did as well is provide funding for those. We also had volunteers. So if parents are, our staff are calling parents at 11 o'clock in the morning and that parent is at work, they may or may not answer the phone. But if we're doing a big phone bank on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, maybe even a Thursday, but we're doing it at 6 o'clock, then yes, we may find that person. Or if we're going out in teams on Saturday morning, we're more likely to find that person at home. So making sure that our district put aside funding for that. So, or even got volunteers together. A lot of our front office staff, a lot of our leadership volunteered to go out in pairs to go meet with families on the weekends and after hours. So data clerks. So we use a system called Skyward here. So making sure that all of our documentation, all of our coding was correct. That was one of the reasons why our numbers was so high at first as well. We wanted to make sure that our coding wasn't always correct. The students would have went to homeschool, and that wouldn't have counted for us as a dropout. So making sure our coding was correct, making sure that counselors were available to bring students in, teachers, making sure that they were there to help with phone calls or with identifying anybody they knew. But one of the questions that our leaders asked when they went to campuses, when they talked to leaders, was how many students have you welcomed back, which is very, very important. Because as a leader, you don't want to not know that number. So it made people think about, wow, how many kids do I need to find? And then I want to make sure that I can broadcast that we've welcomed back 25 kids today. So that's one of the things we wanted to make it simple. You know, I'm graphics in processes, and we put it out there. So next. This is the way that we disseminated information. So we used the share drive. We did move up to, we were using Microsoft Share at first, and now we're using Google. But each campus had a folder. Inside that folder, it had the guidance, enrollment recovery guidance, and then every single form that they needed. I mean, every single form. If you needed a call log, if you needed a contract, if you needed a withdrawal form, any form that they could think of that they may need to either bring a student back because they didn't have a birth certificate, that form, whatever form they needed, it was there, right there in their folder. Then it was all the different procedures that we do for withdrawal. And then for our campus leaders, they had access to every single one of our folders for our campuses. So each campus had a folder, but then our campus, not our campus, but our district leaders could see each campus folder, so they could see every student that needed to come back. All of our department leads could see that as well, so they were able to go and look at each campus list and see, hey, we have 15 special education students at this campus that we need to find, maybe we can help. Or we have 20 left students at this campus, so let's see if we can help them find those students as well. So our district leaders had access to the folders, our campus leaders had folder access, and then there was a sheet involved with all the names and all their demographic information. Our district leaders looked at the numbers per campus. So they were looking at those numbers every single day and be like, okay, where are we today? You know, we're looking for a goal of 0, and then we would celebrate everybody who got to 0 and found all of our students. One year we started at about 3,000 students that we were looking for. So getting that down is a struggle, but it's also a great celebration when we finally get campuses that reach 0 and they have found and welcomed back every one of their students. And then next. So we do have a Texas state database that we use to search for our students. If they're enrolled anywhere in the state of Texas, then we can search that database. That's the first thing that we do. First, we do door knocking, and then, of course, targeted support. And so that's one of the things that we do. We work with the other departments, like the LEP department, special education, and then even sometimes the testing department. And I know this is kind of a far stretch, but students take national tests. And so sometimes our testing coordinators have access to where a student last took a test. So like the SAT or the PSAT, they can search for those students. And I know that's a stretch, but sometimes we have to do that to find students. Of course, we also use Facebook and social media to look for students as well. But, you know, there are some guidelines on that, and we always have our administrators work through any guidelines and work with staff about what they should or should not do when it comes to that. But of course, we look for them everywhere, every way that we can. The biggest bang for our buck, though, is those phone calls and home visits where we're doing big phone banks, and of course that are after hours and going to visit families. And then the next one. Also, when we're trying to bring them back, so fast pass enrollment, which sounds like just, it sounds special, but it's really just simple. If they were already with us, we'll already have some of their documents, so we'll only require basically that you bring us your proof of residency. So it's like, okay, hey, you're not gonna have to sit through a long process. You're not gonna have to do this when you come back. This is all you have to do. This is all we need you to do, and we're gonna bring you back, and that's it. So, just letting them know that you're special. We want you to come back. This is how you come back. It's really, really simple. And then if they do have document barriers, we do like a 30-day process. Like, okay, we also offer notarization at most of our campuses and at our student services department. So if they're now living with somebody else and need a notarized document, we do it for free. So any barrier that we could think about as far as enrollment, residency, or something that's happening within the family, we do have 3 case managers. 2 of them are certified social workers. 1 of them has a background in counseling that work with the family. Of course, creative enrollment. Some of our students on the elementary level have started ABA therapy or some type of therapy for medical reasons that they're missing most of the day or have to go to every day. So that's one of the things that we did as well, is worked with ways to enroll them for special reasons or special issues that they may have. And of course, using alternative campuses. Okay, and then there was a new segment, but I'm not sure how far we are on time, that they did about our district that was recognized with our program. So I think we may have
3 minutes. 3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. Oh, well, we cannot do that if they want to ask questions.
It's up to you. We've got time.
Okay, go ahead. You can do it then. Okay, I can't hear it.
Yeah, we're not getting the audio.
And I'm looking for Edwin Lopez Garcia. Is that you?
Trying to find why students dropped out of school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you didn't finish. Yeah.
Part cop, part counselor. They're hoping to help these young people who often gave up on education for an occupation.
I'm working. I got to pay off my car. And so, it's kind of hard for me to like just come up with some money. So, I got to work all day, like get a full-time job, to get a good check. And then I got other bills to pay.
Truancy manager Paul Aguilar says it's a common story.
A lot of students, primarily with our immigrant population, they're here to work. So they find that it's conflicting for them because they want to help their family.
That's why Garland is going door to door to talk to students, their parents, try to find solutions.
Would that be a good research question? No.
It's not just pipe dreams, it's working. Just ask Gio Vasquez.
Personal issues, some stuff going on, and just school for me wasn't good at the time, and I dropped out.
Gio was 18 in his senior year when he walked out of school and says he never planned to come back.
He actually went to my doorstep and knocked. That means he actually cared about me in order for me to finish my school. He went out his way, tried to get me back into school, and here I am, finishing up.
It's not just the truancy officer. At-risk coordinator Angela Daniels says dropouts are not a big problem for Garland, but she says every student should have someone fighting for them. And Garland's decided they're all going to do it.
But now we have the entire district involved, including our superintendent, assistant superintendents. Every campus has a point person and a team that's ready and willing to accept these students.
No, you're right.
Gio's on track to finish his degree and wants to head to culinary school. His is a success story, and they're hoping with a little old-fashioned work on the street.
But I want to finish school so I can do something big.
There'll be many more. In Garland, Wayne Carr, NBC5.
Love their effort. If you have a unique story of success,
I'm tired, y'all. But that's it. One of the things that I did want to do is leave you with some questions. Things that helped us was making sure that our district met together and we talked together and we planned with funding as well as staff what we were going to do. So assessing what your district beliefs are about students coming back is also very important, because I've heard some things where it's like, okay, well, we don't necessarily want those kids to come back, do we? You know, so definitely you put your funding where your mouth is. So talking about what are the struggles that you're currently having in your area. And I think nationwide, we are seeing families that are students that want to go back to work or have to go back to work, seeing students with learning gaps. We're seeing a couple of different issues, and that's nationwide, but then there are some problems that are just local problems that you may have to work through, or may have some issues with procedures that are keeping kids from coming back. And then how much time is dedicated to reviewing the data? If we don't talk about it, if we don't see it, then we can't change it. So how much time are you actually sitting down? What times of the year? So one of the things that we also did is we usually just do it at the beginning of the school year, but in the middle of the year, we have started looking at our students who haven't returned still, or left us after our dropout recovery time. And then we need to look at them again. We'll look at mid-year. So kind of a dropout recovery time again, mid-year. And then before the end of the year, we're also reviewing that data again. Who's left us since January? Who do we need to find now? Who's still left out there and they're not enrolled somewhere else? And again, are there checkpoints and safeguards to keep students enrolled? So of course, truancy prevention is important, but chronic absenteeism, who are we looking for? Are we noticing when kids just kind of disappear off the radar? So those are just some think about questions that, again, they are pertain to just your district. And once you have some answers for those questions, you can kind of start molding your guidance for your campuses and for your district as well. And then the biggest thing, you can go to the next slide, is making sure that everybody who's involved, one of the things that we're expanding to include is we have different teams in the cities who want to also help. And I know in Dallas ISD, they also do, you know, like political people like the mayor or somebody may be involved. So we're also expanding ours with our school board. Some of our city leaders want to be involved, including the libraries. That was one of the things that we thought would be very, very important. And then also including some of the apartment complexes where we go and kind of just, you know, have a center in any of their rec rooms just to talk to families about staying enrolled. So in the enrollment time. So we also have a Reading with Rodney bus. And so our bus is called Reading with Rodney. Anyway, it's just a bus that we use, and we go to different parts of the city to talk about staying enrolled and to meet with families, and just to say that our district is here, it's in the community, and we want you to be involved in our district. And then again, the biggest thing is, how are you going to celebrate? Because once we've done this, we want to be noticed. We want to be noticed. Everybody wants to be seen. So making sure that you're celebrating the students that returned. Like, thank you for coming back. Thank you for investing in you. So we do like some type of cookie, and I know that's small, but just giving a cookie is important. Or even just a certificate that you made it through this far. Thank you for coming back. We also have competitions for the campuses about, hey, how many kids have you welcomed back? Who can get to zero quickest? And our assistant superintendents look at that. So celebration is important as well.
Okay, great. Let me do the questions real quick. Several thank yous for sharing, and one question about how will this be shared. So you will get, to the attendees, you will get this PowerPoint, and the links are embedded in the PowerPoint. So you'll be able to click on the links for all of the things that she showed, and copy and paste whatever you need. So she's been very willing to share. So that's great. Okay, so someone shared what to call your manual and recommended the opportunity toolkit. So and I like that. It's cool. Then David Copperroot comment or question? In California, there is a widespread belief that the vast majority of our declining enrollment is due to students moving. Do you find that to be true in your district?
Yes, that's not the vast. No, it's not the biggest reason, but it is. That does happen a lot here. Also, putting the information in correctly, because sometimes they'll have the address in, but not the actual apartment number. Like, there are a couple of things that happen. So yes, families moving to different places, not getting information, does happen a lot here. But it's not the only reason. Again, it's usually at our department, in our area, it struggles. Like something happened to that student or that family.
Okay. Next question. When checking in on where kids are and doing the home visits, do you recommend making phone calls first? And then at what point do you make the home visit after getting in contact or not with caregivers?
We do home visits. I mean, we do phone calls first, and we call every number that we can find. I mean, every number. So any emergency contacts, we call them. And then after that, we talk to any of the staff to know if they know anything about that student. If that student is in a special population, we look at the CUME folder or their folder of information. What programs were they in? When has somebody spoken to them? Also with us, our students who move, like McKinney-Vento, we do have a case manager that works with those students. So we're working to get their information regularly. So at least touching or having a touch point with each one of those McKinney-Vento students to update their information as often as possible. Is one of the things that we implemented, because those students who moved, we would lose a lot of those students who were who didn't have stable housing. So yes, we do phone calls first, look for all our resources on campus and other departments, and then we do a home visit.
Okay, there's a couple more questions, but we'll address them offline and send the answers to the questioners. Thank you again, Angela, for giving us a reboot and for sharing all your resources with others. Much appreciated. So, thank you.